156. Well, I love it when I can host a Slow Flowers member on a Seattle visit. And now that travel is opening up again, I have a feeling 2022 will be a busy year. Last month, Andrea K. Grist, a longtime Slow Flower Society member and friend, spent a few days visiting Seattle. She's a past guest of the Slow Flowers podcast and a wedding and event florist based in the Kansas City metro area. 5 years ago, Andrea assumed the management of Florasource KC, a locally owned independent flower wholesaler based in Overland Park, Kansas, which is a suburb of Kansas City. And last year, she opened KC Bloom Hub, a dedicated studio space that's within the walls of Florasource KC, available to florists for one-day rentals for design and production, workshops, and other events. Andrea came to Seattle on a research trip. She hopes to put a greater emphasis on Kansas City-grown flowers through her wholesale outlet, and she wanted to learn from what's happening here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, we visited the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, now in its 11th year as a successful farmer-owned floral wholesale hub. It was early April, and I encouraged Andrea, let her loose actually, to shop there for local and domestic botanicals. We returned to my dining room, and Andrea created a gorgeous large-scale arrangement with her seasonal selections, which she designed during our recorded interview. I'll save our sponsor thank yous to the conclusion of this interview, so let's jump right in and welcome Andrea Grist to the Slow Flowers Show. I am so excited to be here in my own dining room with my good friend Andrea Grist. Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Andrea is the creative director of her own design studio called Andrea K. Grist Floral Art. That's what you were doing when I first met you years ago. And you were a past guest of the Slow Flowers podcast with that hat on. And now, in the last 5 years, you've moved into wholesale, and you're the creative director of Florasource KC in Kansas City. And also you have a new project called KC Bloom Hub, which we'll talk about. So Andrea, thanks for coming to Seattle.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, you're excited because you get to play with local seasonal flowers.
Yes, absolutely. So thanks for letting me come out and invade your space for a little bit. And we've got some really fun, beautiful flowers to play with.
Yeah, today, it's early April, and you have kind of an apricot peachy plum palette. And so I'm going to talk to you while you design, which I know you're completely comfortable doing.
Sounds great.
All right, so this is fun because your expertise, I feel, is very much in color, and you authored a book on color, and so this will be fun to talk about why you're doing what you're doing. And when you design, do you always start with the woody material first?
Well, so this was a vase from your house that I just grabbed off the fireplace or something like that. So. At the market this morning, I was just looking at some new and fun things, some things that I don't see as much in the Midwest. So that was kind of what my go-to was, things I don't see very often.
Give yourself a chance to play with
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like this container has a really wide open mouth, so we're going to get some good volume on it and stuff. So I'm going to try to keep the stems long and let them go where they go, and we'll kind of see. And as I was saying to you, some of this stuff I don't know the name of, so if you want to chime in and anything, let me know.
That is a type of spirea, and when we checked out today at the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, I heard the staff say it's Oregon grown, so I'm not quite sure what variety it is, but it's just that time of year when all the woody, flowering branches are starting to pop, and so it's nice to get.
This is so whimsical to me and very, it's just really light and stuff. And I feel like there's lots of different bending in a lot of the stems and stuff. So I'm kind of going to use this to create my framing for how large I want to go with this. And then we'll kind of start filling in. And I guess, so this, I want to kind of show what this other, I'll just pick it up.
The front of the vase.
Yeah. So it's flat on the back, but then... So, like as you're watching, I'll try to do that because then it'll give you a little bit better perspective. So what I'm going to try to do is do something kind of flat backed and then have it drape over the front a little bit. So I'll try to continue to turn it around a little bit.
It's funny because so often if you do a one-sided arrangement, the vase is round.
Yeah.
This vase is like, hey, I am a one-sided arrangement.
Yeah, exactly. It sets the tone very, very quickly. So
and full disclosure, we didn't have a vase in mind when we were shopping this morning. You just picked your palette.
Yeah.
And then you came to my house to see what I had. So.
Well, the first one I picked was a turquoise vase because I like the turquoise and orange and peachy combination.
Yeah, but this has got this matte black on the rounded side.
Yeah, I think this is going to look really, really nice. And I think when we get into the hellebores and is it fritillaria, then I think that'll just kind of draw out the color of the vase that much more. So
yeah, it is hard though to design in a oddly shaped vase, and this is a vase. I don't know who the artist is, but it was a gift from a wedding that I designed for a friend on Whidbey Island, and she bought it at a shop called...
It's really cool.
Yeah, she bought it at a shop called Edit. So
okay.
Anyone curious, it's probably a one of a kind. I'll try to find the artist name and post it when I share this in the show notes. But Andrea, I've only ever had long lasting hydrangea in here, like I've cut from my shrubs in like late summer and then just let it dry and stay in the vase, all winter. So it's just been underutilized. So I'm so excited to see what you do.
Yeah, this was it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the one. So I'm trying to keep a lot of the foliage on here. I think that's really pretty foliage on this is grevillea. So I think that's gorgeous. One thing that sometimes people, they're very quick to strip off all of the foliage and just focus on the flower. So we're going to try to let the foliage shine a little bit too.
Yeah, because you miss all the texture otherwise.
Yeah.
So Andrea, while we're designing, give us a little snapshot of Florasource KC, because you are a wholesaler in kind of full service wholesaler, but you have some specializations.
Yeah, so we do consider ourselves a full service floral supplier. We carry a mix of fresh arrangements, fresh flowers, different greens and stuff. But then we have an amazing design background, and I think that's really what sets us apart, is that we work with our designers. A lot of times when we have wedding orders and stuff, we encourage designers to send along their color palettes, to send along their design inspiration boards, because we really want to try to understand what their goal is for whatever event that they're doing, whether it's a wedding or any sort of thing. It also helps us to be better, service providers for them. If we need to offer substitutions, then we kind of have a general idea of like what they're going for. So I always, plus we're creatives, we're all creatives. So we like that visual element to be shared with us, so that I just think it helps us to do our job that much better.
You're kind of like a consulting designer then, because you understand what the client needs and why they're ordering what they're ordering.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of designers come to us, is because we do try to stay one step ahead. We do try to be, we try to stay out in the industry as far as education, so that people can come to us and say, what are you seeing? What is hard to get in? What are you seeing, new varieties? We always really want to try to stay one step ahead of the designers that we service.
So when we had a fun thing that we did earlier, I think last fall, maybe during membership month, neither of us can remember, but I'll find the link. But Andrea did an Instagram live tour of KC, of Florasource KC with us, and it was because you had opened a new division. So
that's been really fun.
Yeah, let's talk about what that is.
Well, so we decided to go ahead and expand last summer, and during the expansion, we were trying to put our heads together and say, what are we seeing in the industry that designers need? And one of the first things was just space, a place to design, a place to do production. Some of our designers ended up, not renewing leases from COVID, or they had so many special events that were canceled that they, just decided to maybe do more of a studio designer situation. Well, then when they started rebooking weddings for for this year and last fall and stuff, they needed some additional space. So we came up with this idea called the KC Bloom Hub. And me and my staff, I mean, we worked so hard last summer, a lot of sweat equity, like
painting and all that.
Painting, the carpet, moving. We had a roofing company that was next door. So as you can imagine, it was very dirty.
It wasn't pretty.
No, it wasn't pretty at all. So we had a lot of cleanup work to do and a lot of just trying to figure out what that space would look like for designers that were coming in to utilize it. So, and basically we spent 2, 3, 4 months really, diving into that, just cleanup stuff. And as soon as we started offering it, it's been going really, really well. We see a definite need for it. Sometimes it's corporate work, sometimes it's weddings. One of the things I didn't anticipate was the out of town angle. We've had 3 or 4 clients already come in and rent it for a wedding that they were producing in Kansas City, but they are from out of town. So, and that's one thing that I actually didn't know that was going to be, that there was going to be a market for that.
So how are they finding you then, do you think? Do you just advertise on social media? You have a new social media account just for KC Flower,
I think
right?
most of it so far has been word of mouth. In addition to, running Florasource, I still freelance on occasion, and I'm very, very lucky to have a good network of designers that I enjoy being around. So I think in that particular situation, that's how a couple of designers have found us.
That's a really good point.
It's been
your relationships.
through a freelancing situation where multiple designers are coming from different locations to help with an event, and then they're going back to their
region
where their region is, and then kind of saying, and just through a course of conversation, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in Kansas City next month for this or that, and I know this gal, and so
it's basically like you have a pass through between the two businesses, like there's shared space, right?
Yeah, and we utilize it too. It's been amazing for us. We've gone through our first major holiday with Valentine's Day. I feel like it's allowed us to spread out. It's allowed us to refine our process and be more efficient with the receiving of our product, and pulling orders and packing orders, and so it's not just for other designers too. There's some definite benefits to for us. We've been able to warehouse more supply items, whereas we didn't have space to do that before. So we had to be very, very careful about what supply items we got in. Just we just didn't have the storage for it.
What's the square footage of the two spaces?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Okay. You'll send me
you
some
got
photos.
Me on that one.
You'll send me some photos to share.
Yeah. And our website does have some photos of the Bloom Hub, and it's split up into 2 different spaces. We've got the design studio, then we actually put in a conference room. So it's a warehouse, but there's built-in studios. So it can function in several different ways, whether an out-of-town client is wants to meet with the designer in the conference room, or they're doing a workshop, or they're doing production. We've got a delivery dock where everybody can load out of that, which is really cool too.
Right.
It just, and I think it makes it, for the designer that's trying to, the more efficient our space is, the quicker we get our work done.
Yeah.
So these are amazing. Those are amazing. So I'm kind of just trying to fill in and I do like tulips, and I kind of try to let them bend their own way. And I know even after this, watching it over the next couple of days, it's going to morph even more. So
yeah, I'm lucky because you're flying back to Kansas City and you're leaving this here with me.
Yes.
But the maidenhair fern is so pretty, and it is so, I know that it's available year-round, I believe, from Peter Court Roses in Portland, but it has a true, spring roll where it looks like it's just come out of the woodland. So
it's amazing. And actually, the reason I picked it is because I rarely see it with as long of stems as this has.
You're right.
So that was I was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And the same with the butterfly ranunculus too.
Yeah.
Really, really amazing.
That they're getting longer stems.
Long stems, yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about how you charge for people to use KC Bloom Hub? Like what are the rates or what are the ways that people rent it?
Well, right now we've got an online scheduler, and like we're very small, so a lot of times I'll just talk to somebody on the phone, and I'll utilize the online scheduler. But for now, that's really just for us to
make sure you don't
it gets on the calendar.
Yeah.
So, but in time, I think it will be able to be utilized by designers. They can just pop in there. It'll have dates that are already booked and all that stuff. But for now, we're really relying on our first set of designers that are using it to let us know, what do you need? What is this? Like, they're kind of our guinea pigs for the first little while. Like, what did you find that worked for you? What did you find that was challenging? So trying to ask those questions after people utilize it is, so I feel like every time somebody comes in, we change it just a little bit.
Sure, you're still in
try
beta.
To accommodate. Even think silly things like we added a processing sink and hooked it into our plumbing, and we bought a couple of additional carts. We have created a couple of new things. Watering cans, spray bottles, trash cans, carts. All of the things that
the supplies.
Yeah, exactly.
And people who come in and rent the hub, do they have access to your walk-in cooler if they need to store product?
Yeah, they have access to the walk-in cooler and any of the supplies and stuff. As of right now, as we're talking right now, I don't require the 100% sourcing through Florasource, because I feel like a lot of our designers have maybe local growers that they like to get things from, or different things from different folks, and I don't feel like at this point I want to invade that creative type of flow.
You're thinking like a designer here.
Exactly. But every single designer that's been in there has supported us organically, either a lot do place the whole order through us, but some, they don't, and, but they'll buy their supply items, or they'll buy something else, or, just in whatever way. So we want to make sure that we're,
you got them in the door so that they see what you have.
Exactly. We want to make sure that they're, getting the things that they need to be able to, and sometimes it's just, can I borrow that box because this bouquet isn't going in the box the way I wanted it to, or something like that. So sometimes it's just things that we would have that maybe a studio designer just wouldn't have at their disposal and stuff.
So you didn't? Can you say what the hourly rate is or the day rate? How do you charge?
So the day rate right now is $125, and we are only available during business hours. So we ask the designers to come in, and it's available during business hours. But then, like I said, we're pretty small, so we don't have 24/7 access or keypads or anything like that. Although, maybe in time when we feel a little bit more comfortable with with how we're...
Right. It's not like you have a dedicated employee to manage this. You're all kind of flowing between the two businesses.
Yeah. So, and it's just, I feel like it's just, I wouldn't even call it two businesses. I would just say it's another area of service that I feel like we already have a little bit of a different business model, and I think that customer service really sets us apart. So then I just think the Bloom Hub sets it, a little further than that.
Yeah.
But we just wanted it to be its own kind of little fun creative entity, so that's kind of why we named it that way. So
I love it. Well, Andrea, how many years were you working as a wedding and event designer before you kind of moved over into this new chapter of your floral life? Because that was about 5 years ago, right?
Yes, I just celebrated my 5-year work anniversary. So, but yeah, almost 17 years.
Wow.
So, all when my kids were little and stuff, I was doing weddings and events, and it came about. It was a good time for a move for me, and I'm going to do this, and it's going to cover my face.
Yeah. We can take it down off of the pedestal too.
But it was a good time for a move. I feel like I was getting a little bit stale in the wedding work and not enjoying it as much. And for people that I talk to, I just call it a different spoke of the same wheel.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And you already had owned your own business. So you had the business management side, but this was a whole, and you'd shopped at wholesalers, so you kind of knew it from a customer point of view.
I knew what I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I knew some of the things that bothered me about, and I actually really drew from that quite a bit about how we could have our customer experience be different than that traditional wholesale model.
Yeah, because you had used the word earlier, like kind of a niche type of.
Yeah, like a boutique wholesaler. I feel like that is what sets us apart, because we don't have the square footage, we don't have as much space. We're very small, so we can't carry as much inventory. Like what we bring in, we need to sell. It needs to rotate in and out quickly. And, we need to, keep it going.
Now you can see what you're doing.
Okay.
So you're out here in Seattle because you're doing some research. Can you talk a little bit about what prompted this?
Yeah, well, you and I have known each other for years, even before I started running a wholesaler. So I've always valued your, input, and we're trying to do something in Kansas City to focus on locally grown products. And we do purchase locally grown products. I mean, this is a world market, so we do purchase, flowers and greens and things from all around the world. But, I do love bringing in local products. So I know that here in this area is the growers market, and a lot of growers in this area that have different ways that they've been able to kind of partner with each other and with other wholesalers in town, or to kind of start like a market and stuff. So basically, I just kind of wanted to figure that out a little bit. Yeah.
And Andrea, I have to comment, when I first met you, and we met, I think, through Chapel Designers.
Yeah.
Because you're active in that. We talked about your desire 6 or 7 years ago to source more local. You kind of had figured out where you could get locally grown flowers from farmers in the Kansas City area, but it was pretty sparse. I mean, it wasn't, they weren't really, the ones who were growing, most of them were more farmers market vendors. They weren't set up to sell to the professional florist, right?
Yes, and I think, I feel like anybody in this industry would be remiss if they didn't mention COVID and stuff like that. So, I think it changed a little bit of our model as far as how we were sourcing things. It made us think that we needed to diversify our resources, so we weren't putting all of our eggs in one basket as far as our suppliers and everything, because everybody was experiencing different things in different parts of the country. And even when we were talking this morning, I was saying, in the Midwest, we potentially didn't feel it the same way as other parts of the country. We still did, but when I talked to other people on the East Coast or the West Coast, their experience with it was far different. So
can I just stop for a minute and say that tulip is amazing.
This is a lovely tulip.
And I will put the list of all the ingredients that you're designing with
This is yummy.
Up on our show notes, because I think that was grown by either Ojeda or Everyday Flowers, and it's like a double.
Yeah.
It's got a really...
I grabbed it because it's like weird brown color.
Well, it kind of goes with ranunculus, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I'll turn it around here in a minute.
Yeah, you've got the kind of brighter orange, and then you've got that creamy butter yellow in the grevillea and the stalk, and they're just so stunning. I feel like you've already cracked the nut for knowing how to bring in product from California and all the certified American grown product that is, most of it is available year round. It's the seasonal things that the smaller local growers are starting to offer to you that you're trying to figure out how to have more consistently.
Well, I feel like, we are small batch, a small batch floral supplier. So we want the pretty stuff. We have a great design background. We can appreciate the finer things. So I feel like that's one of the things we want, to be able to have things that other people don't have. And we want to see the novelty things and offer those to
the groovy stuff.
The groovy stuff, yes, yes.
Yeah, and so I know in the past you've talked about being able to get certain crops, year after year, like peonies, like the Midwest, Kansas City, Kansas, Missouri. You're known for having long-time peony growers, I think, compared to maybe other crops.
Yeah, we have lovely, I mean, it always amazes me when we get, lists from local growers, what's grown. And I will be the first to say anywhere I go that I am not a grower or a farmer or anything like that. And I've got some funny stories where I tried to work on a flower farm for a little bit and,
I don't think I know this.
Oh, gosh.
What happened?
It's a funny story, actually. It's a Vicki Lander with Flower Hill Farm,
Yep.
I went and tried
to... outside of St. Louis,
outside of St. Louis, yes. I was, writing an article for Missouri Life magazine. And I said... And I talked to her and I said, can I come work on the farm? And she was like, oh gosh, okay. And so she did, and I showed up with open-toed shoes, no hat, no sunscreen, nothing. So it was funny.
City slicker.
Yeah, it was very clear on that one.
Yeah.
But it is funny. It's so much hard work, and it's learning that. And I would say that's one thing that I've learned coming from the event design area into wholesale is the agricultural perspective. Mm-hmm. I feel like I didn't know as much,
But you've educated yourself.
Yes. We've
gone to several farms together when I came to visit you.
Yes.
In both, Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas. So, and then we met up at a Fields of Ace dinner in Colorado, so we've had that experience.
Yeah.
So you're always kind of seeking out flower farmers, but probably just because you're greedy, you want to get what they're doing.
Well, and I mean, when we hosted you for your book signing in Kansas City, and that was great. I met a lot of local growers there, and I feel like there's a big push. A lot of people are entering into that field and trying to figure some things out, whether it's flowers or, other things. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's something that seems to be very popular right now.
Yeah, there's
people
more
are trying to
acceptance.
figure it out.
More interest in, you're obviously seeing florists who want local product.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of our customers will that didn't go in there, right? But a lot of our customers will ask number one, what is local, what is domestic or American grown, and we're very open with what we're able to get, and we can look at anything in the cooler and be able to tell you where it's sourced mm-hmm. from. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the points where we definitely pride ourselves on industry education. We've been to a lot of the farms that we source from. We've been to Amsterdam and Ecuador and up to Canada, and of course all of the, some of the local farms that we mm-hmm. visited in our area too. So
it's more about education and customer, just customer product knowledge, or product knowledge that you share with customers.
Well, and I think even among some of the products, you're going to see some differences. And I can't spin it as easy on
but it looks so pretty. You didn't do a one-sided. It's just as pretty on the back.
So I feel like I had to give it a little bit of depth on the back side, but I'm not. It's not as filled in. Mm-hmm. So
it's pretty though. I might put it on my fireplace mantle.
I think you should.
So what haven't you used? You haven't used the Fritillaria or the kumquats or the. Is that
purple, so now
Anthriscus?
We
used some of that purple ravenswing, that Anthriscus.
See, I wouldn't have known what that is.
Yeah.
So
it kind of has the same texture, delicate texture as the maidenhair.
Yeah. But yeah, we education is big for me. I mean, I've been in the industry, I got to tell you, 30 years now, which dates me. But
what was your first floral industry job?
My first job was in high school. I just was a grunt, sweeping floors and stuff. And I worked for, actually, oddly, another wholesaler in the Kansas City area. And when I was in college, it worked really, really well for my schedule because wholesalers get up so early. And from there, I just did a little bit more education. I ended up finding a job, and it kind of just went from there. So,
a flower shop job.
Yeah, I found a job at a flower shop. They were very heavy into weddings, and so I got my feet wet with that job, and then I just decided to start my own thing, at some point, like a lot of designers do. So
yeah, and it probably fit having a young family too.
Yeah. No, it was good. Very flexible.
Oh, that is so pretty, Andrea.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
I really enjoy what we're doing now. I'm proud of us and proud of what we've been able to.
Yeah, I can't wait to come visit and see the
I would love to have you.
Bloom Hub, because I feel like I know you didn't have exact square footage, but I will say it seems like you could have a workshop. You could have a workshop with like maybe 15 students, right?
Exactly. And actually, I'm doing that. I know this is going to be done later, but I'm doing that tomorrow. Actually, back in Kansas City, we're having a local junior college come, and they're bringing their floral design classes and for their field trip. So I'm very excited.
How many do you think you'll have?
I think it's about 15.
Okay.
They have it's just right down the street from us, and they have some great programs and horticulture programs and stuff. So I love doing that kind of stuff. Even some of our high schools that are involved in like FFA and stuff that have agricultural programs, they now have floral design programs for their students and stuff. So I'm really excited to continue teaching stuff in that way. And then again, with the teaching, I'm learning at the same time. So which there's always something to learn. So
Andrea, I just, what you said about not cutting all the foliage off, I know we're jumping all around, but that's okay. That's how we talk.
Right.
The tulip you just put in, it's so much more interesting because you left the blades on the stem versus stripping it all off and having a kind of a wimpy looking stem. So I think it makes a difference.
These are amazing, and I'm actually having a lot of fun with this. I mean, it's
yes, I knew you wouldn't say no if I asked you to do it.
And everybody who knows me will be like, "Yep." Well, I don't get to do as much design and as much anymore. When I'm stuck behind my desk and stuff far more than I like right now. So I really enjoy getting out and doing the design.
And you do design for like your open houses and that sort of thing, right? When you're showing people, don't you do sort of obviously COVID made it hard.
Well, we actually did our open houses. We didn't actually have a lull with that, so we did it, and we have a different concept every time. So our last open house, each of our designers did an inspiration table. So that was really fun because you got to see the different design. I wanted to promote our designability. Designability for other designers that hadn't seen that before, or maybe new customers that hadn't seen that before. So each of us did our own design table. So and we had our names next to them and stuff.
You and your team members then.
Yes, exactly.
And was it like a whole tablescape, like
everybody just had creative freedom to pick what they wanted and pick the product that they wanted to showcase, and we kind of all picked different color palettes and just that was kind of how we did some inspiration tables, is what I call them. So
Andrea, the colors are so delicious, and I can't. What did you start with? Because I know that orange and purple are kind of quasi complementary on the color wheel, right?
Well, and that's kind of why I was thinking about the turquoise vase at the very beginning, because of that reason. But then it kind of
this just grounds it so much better. It's more organic.
Now I've got to try to figure these out because they're a little bit shorter stems, but I kind of feel like naturally that's gonna just
that's as quirky as you want it to
down,
be, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna leave the greenery on because it would look very odd otherwise.
I am, and I really like it because it's really dark green on one side and kind of a different lighter green on the other. So I feel like everything about the foliage is kind of interesting. So.
And I just
knock the vase over.
I just love that you picked the fritillaria because we saw that yesterday in the garden, at the Chihuly Glass and Garden exhibit in Seattle, we spent more time looking at plants.
Yeah.
Glass.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and that's a source of color inspiration too.
It is, and that I think it's got a lot of like floral undertones in some of it too. So.
Well, so when you head home and you start planning your next chapter, what we'll have to just, for people who want to follow you, they're going to have to keep an eye on your 2 Instagram feeds, because you're still in an experimental stage of what you might want to do to increase the number of local growers that you're able to distribute for, right? I mean, it's all relationships.
Yes, and I think that we, the growers that we do have relationships with, I'm very appreciative for. The product that they bring to us is amazing. It moves really, really quickly, and it's lovely. I feel like we found a groove with a few that I'm very, very, we're very lucky. And so, because of that, we know what we have coming in, so we don't try to source the same things from somewhere else if we want that product to shine that particular week, and we're open, because we're more boutique-y. We don't necessarily, we love unique things. We love things that have bends in the stem and that kind of like curve over naturally and aren't straight up and down and stuff. So we love all the nuancy type of fun things that come along with that sometimes more local product.
Yeah, a little bit more of a I guess not so commercialized, and so you're not getting that uniform stem all the time.
Well, we had a grower, she's like, I'm not sure you're going to want these because the stem is not straight. And I was like, perfect.
Bring it on.
What makes you think I wanted a straight stem? So, all right, I am getting down to where I am almost done. Honestly, fiddling around with this.
Honestly, I'm worried about this vase because the mouth is so open, and you didn't have trouble filling it.
I love this vase. I think it worked out really good. Sorry, I just got that all over your floor.
That's okay. That last stem you put in, I think that's like some kind of manzanita, and with the dark red trunk too. It's so pretty in the branches.
Yeah, this is pretty. And when you look down into it, I like doing some depth and stuff. So I'm kind of trying to.
Yeah, you have some shorter.
Any other things in here? I like being able to peek down into something and see little surprises.
Yeah.
So
we'll get some photos, because that's the other thing that you do is photograph your work so beautifully.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just think it's like a little jewel box of spring.
Yes.
And I know the Grevillea's from California, and that's kind of a little different, but it's still American grown. So
that's right. And I mean, this is amazing how it turned out, and I really love this. Are great. I really love this selection.
Yeah, you got your oranges.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I said, that we needed to find some kumquats and stuff. It's a little bit of a funny story back at home. We don't see that a lot. We don't, so.
It's not something you get like a huge box of. It's a specialty
right.
item.
It's a specialty item, and we can definitely order it in and all of that. But we don't. Sometimes we do get persimmons. We get some pomegranates.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I knew exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So we do get some of that stuff, but and some of the like fun little pods and seeds and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that was fun. That's what started the whole color palette, as I walked in and saw those, and I was like, okay, so we're doing this.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful, Andrea. Thank you so much. And we'll get some in situation photos so we can show how it looks up either on my front porch or on the mantle. But
this is great stuff. So thanks for having me and hosting, and I really enjoyed my time here. First time in Washington.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing an update with us on what Andrea K, Grist Floral Art is doing, and Florasource KC and KC Bloom Hub. So we'll have all those links to your places on the social media network,
all the things.
And also let people know how they can, if they're going to Kansas City and they want to rent a studio space, how to do that.
Absolutely. We had a group in from Colorado last week, and we had a lot of fun with them. So we love meeting new people and getting to see their creative process. That is one thing that we really enjoy, because everybody does things differently. Even down to how they process their flowers and how they do their designs and their whole creative process. So that's been eye-opening for us as well.
Wow, and thank you for sharing this design demo. It's just inspiring. I love the way you combine these colors and some of the ingredients, and it's just delightful. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thanks, Deborah.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. You can find the full ingredient list and more photos from Andrea's floral demonstration and more details about her numerous projects in the Kansas City marketplace in our show notes for episode 556 at slowflowerspodcast.com when we air the audio next week, May 4th. Before I go, I'd love to thank our sponsors who bring this show to you. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 880 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. Thank you to our lead sponsor, Farm Girl Flowers. Farm Girl Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $10 million of U.S.-grown fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgirlflowers.com. Thank you to the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, a farmer-owned cooperative committed to providing the very best the Pacific Northwest has to offer and cut flowers, foliage, and plants. The Growers Market's mission is to foster a vibrant marketplace that sustains local flower farms and provides top quality products and services to the local floral industry. Visit them at seattlewholesalegrowersmarket.com. Thank you to Longfield Gardens, which provides home gardeners with high quality flower bulbs and perennials. Their online store offers plants for every region and every season, from tulips and daffodils to dahlias, caladiums, and amaryllis. Check out the full catalog at longfield-gardens.com. And thank you to Red Twig Farms. Based in Johnstown, Ohio, Red Twig Farms is a family-owned farm specializing in peonies, daffodils, tulips, and branches, a popular peony bouquet by mail program, and their Spread the Hope campaign where customers purchase 10 tulip stems for essential workers and others in the community. Learn more at redtwigfarms.com. The Slow Flower Show is a member-supported endeavor, and I value our loyal members and supporters. If you're new to our weekly show or our long-running podcast, check out all of our resources at slowflowersociety.com and consider making a donation to sustain Slow Flower's ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find the donate button at slowflowerspodcast.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of the Slow Flower Show and podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next week.